Welcome back to another edition of From Beyond Champaign. I'm Cody. You can follow me on all the platforms of social media at Cody_CHGO. And folks, we're finally here to finally talk about this game, or I'm finally here to talk about this game. I put up a TikTok / YouTube short the night Illinois won or beat Arkansas. So if you missed that, you can go check that out. But finally here to talk about this win over Arkansas. It's been a great week for Illinois athletics. Illinois beat Arkansas, ranked Arkansas on Thanksgiving, and then the football team won at beautiful historic Wrigley Field in the Land of Lincoln game. As everyone knows, I'm not the biggest Illinois football fan. I'm very fair weather. If they're good, I follow, but I don't follow them exclusively as much as I do the basketball team. But I do support them, and when they are fun, I get excited about them. So it was a good weekend, good holiday weekend if you're an Illini fan. It's a great time. It continues to be a great time to be an Illini fan, man. So I really wanted to go to that game at Wrigley Field, but it was so cold this weekend, man. I knew multiple people that were at that game, and I should have taken the opportunity. I know that I'm in prime position. I live a mile away from Wrigley Field. I easily could have gone to that game. But it is what it is. I will say I enjoyed watching it from my couch more so than looking at all of the freezing cold people in the stands. But I just want to give a shout out to the Illini football team. I will say this much. Can you make the argument that this team deserves a spot in the college football playoff? I don't know, but I saw a TikTok video about it earlier and of someone making the argument, and this person knows more than me, so I'm just going to say that, yes, you can. Anyway, the basketball team, though, oh, boy. If you are here and you don't have your delusional hopes and dreams out, if you don't have them here, then I don't want you here. If you don't have your delusional hopes and dreams tonight for this basketball team, then I don't want you here. That doesn't mean go away, but get delusional and optimistic, because what a win over Arkansas. I started that YouTube short video with, it's so good to be us. It's so good to be us, guys. We used to dream of times like this like 7 years ago, man. Man, what a win over Arkansas. That was just an absolute ass kicking over John Calipari's team. I don't even know where to start, but let's just start with this much. Kasparis Giacosonis, what a bounce back in a marquee game. Let's not forget he wasn't very good against Alabama. A lot better in this game against Arkansas, and he closed the game for Illinois against Arkansas. It was the Tomislav show in the first half against his brother. In the second half, it was all Kasparis. And Kylan Boswell had a huge game, in my opinion. And the three keys I had for the game, they all panned out. They all panned out in the way that I hoped they would. And we'll go over those here in a hot second. But before we really dive into things, like I always say at the beginning of shows, hit that like button here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. If you know an Illini fan, perhaps send them my way. I try to go live after every game. This past week it was tough because of the holiday. This isn't my full-time gig. But as we get deeper into the season, as we get deeper into the Big Ten season, I'm pretty consistent about going live after every game, especially if they're during the week. So if you're looking for more Illini content, I'm here. I post a lot of other things related to my full-time job as well. I just started doing that over the last month and a half. But this channel is a lot of Illini content related to the basketball team, at least. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button for me. I'd appreciate it. And also at bottom of the screen here on YouTube, I put the voicemail number. If y'all want to send a voicemail with your thoughts about the team, feel free to call or text it, and I will read it on a show. The number is 312-379-9256. So Illinois enters December with one loss on the record. That one loss was against Alabama. And I remember I felt pretty optimistic after the Alabama win or Alabama loss, in terms of like it was a game that we're going to look back on that the team needed and then would grow from. And so far, that bodes true. So far, that looks good. I absolutely had some optimism that they could beat Arkansas. If you go listen to the preview show, I did say that they absolutely can win this game. I said of the 4 games against the SEC, they can at least win 2 of them. Obviously, Mizzou, and then number 2, I think they can beat Arkansas. All right. So they beat Arkansas. I think they bode well against Mizzou later this month. And we'll see what happens against Tennessee. Maybe they can take 3 of the 4. But, man, splitting these 4 SEC games, I think, is good for this program if that is how it plays out. Would love to beat Tennessee. I went to Knoxville last year and watched them play them, and it was a heartbreaking loss. It's in Champaign this year. Who knows? Maybe they can take 3 or 4. Would be a huge win for the program if that, in fact, plays out. But to this point, you're 1-1 against the SEC in this tough non-conference schedule that you have. You lost to Alabama 100-87, and then you bounce back in a big way, beating 2 mid-major programs pretty easily in dominating fashion. Your defense showed up, and then you put 90 on Arkansas, a team that has at the time a KenPom defensive rating in the top, I believe, in the top 10. You put 90 on them, and that's incredibly impressive to me. You beat Arkansas 90-77. I see some comments here in the chat. I'll get to them here in a little bit. Let's some of them are cracking me up already, so I appreciate y'all. Hang around and let's have a good time here. So again, I feel really good about the potential of. I feel pretty good about the potential of at least splitting the SEC teams. Again, they got to play Mizzou and they got to play Tennessee. That's looking ahead. But let's talk about just the game itself. I mean, I mentioned Kasparis. Kasparis was awesome in this game. 23 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 7 of 8 from the free throw line, 2 of 5 from 3, and 7 of 13 from the field overall. So there's a lot to like from him. And I mentioned the fact that he didn't have a great game against Alabama, bounced back in this game against Arkansas. And again, a really good defense. And I just love the fact that he kind of closed the game. I think I've talked to a handful of fans in the last couple weeks. I've talked to a handful of fans in the last couple weeks about the team. And a lot of people have told me, it's like, yeah, this team doesn't have an alpha. And all I'm saying is maybe this was a sign that Kasparis could be the alpha. He could be the guy who closes the game. He could be that Ayo Dosunmu type that when you need a basket, he'll go and get it for you. When you need to close the game out, he's the guy that you give the ball to in the last 5 minutes and let him cook, right? It's one game. And obviously, there are going to be more ups and downs. Very intrigued to see what happens in Evanston this Friday, right? After, a week and a couple days off. But if this game wasn't encouraging to Illinois fans, then, or at least have you feeling optimistic going into this tough month of December you got going ahead, man, I don't know what else to tell y'all. So I'm trying to stay level-headed, but just for a little bit, I'm just going to be a little delusional and just be really excited because I just feel like that game against Arkansas, you saw what the potential of this team can be. You got Kasparis dropping 23. Tomislav dominated the first half. And Kylan Boswell gave you everything you absolutely needed. Not only the offense, but he locked down Boogie Flan. Right? 2 of 12 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3 for Boogie Flan. Kylan Boswell was all over him all night, right? I thought he was going to be on John L. Davis all night, but he was mostly on Boogie Flan. And I think another thing, too, again, they gave up 100 points to Alabama, 77 to Arkansas. Now, Arkansas shot 5 of 17 from 3. The idea in Illinois' coaching staff, they want to force teams to shoot more 2s than 3s. When you run them off the 3-point line, when they run them off the 3-point line, that is what Illinois is trying to do, because Illinois is going to shoot more 3s. They shot 31 3s. They made 15 of them. They shot 48% from 3. That's not going to happen every night, but that's what Illinois wants to do. They want to force teams to shoot more 2s than 3s. And not only did Illinois shoot nearly half more 3-pointers, but Arkansas didn't make the ones that they shot, in which when you make more 3s and you shoot more 3s than the other team, you're probably going to win. The fact that Illinois played a clean game as well, helped in that aspect. So, I just felt like this game was a little bit of a glimpse of where this team could be come late February, going into March. I still think there's things that they can do better at. I still think there's things they can be better at, but man, it's hard to say that this wasn't a perfect game for Illinois. It's hard to say, right? The only reason that I don't is that I complained about him a little bit in the last game or in the last show. Trey White was a no-show. He played 11 minutes, 0 points. I still don't know how to feel about Trey White. Does it really matter, though, when you're getting great production from Kylan Boswell, Kasparis, Tomislav, and then Trey White not really having much of an impact, but Morez Johnson, 14 minutes off the bench, giving you 6 points and 4 rebounds. That negates it. Even Will Riley didn't have the best game. He went 2 of 9 for the field and had 5 points. But Morez Johnson and Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn combined for 11 points off the bench for you. Jake Davis even came in and hit a 3 for you, right? So when you're getting 3 guys scoring double figures and your bench giving you production all across the board, combine 19 points off the bench, that's a recipe for success. But I think this team, once Trey White figures it out and you continue to get consistent production out of these other guys I mentioned, this team's scary. Against Alabama, they nearly put up 90 points, and they didn't play a great game. To me, it's always going to be the first one to 90 when you play Illinois. I mean, it is absolutely unfair that I cannot bet the over every time Illinois plays while living in the state of Illinois. It's almost worth me getting in the car and driving over the border to Indiana and betting the over for every Illinois game. It almost is, because of how they play and how many points they score. It is the first one to 90 against Illinois. Alabama was the first to 90 against them, and they won. But I think for majority of opponents this year, when you play Illinois, the first team to 90 is going to win. And on most nights, Illinois is going to win. I think the most encouraging thing I'll take away from this game, though, as much as the offense was fun to watch, shooting nearly 50% from 3, the defense was so much better than it was against Alabama. Now, Alabama is a much better team than Arkansas for sure, but I love the way the team defense played overall. And they did exactly what they wanted Arkansas to do. They ran them off the 3-point line, forced them to shoot more 2s than 3s. That's what Illinois wants teams to do. So, more on this game. Let's go into the comments section for a little bit. And I want to talk about the Big Ten during Feast Week. Some teams I would like to highlight. So again, hit that like button if you're here, and I appreciate y'all for hanging out. I want to say his name is Anthony, but he's missing an H. Antony. He says, "Hey Cody, massive Cubs fan, and listen to you on CHGO, but I'm an Arizona fan and I go there. I like Illinois, but just mainly to listen to your content. I'm sorry for any potential times that I slander Arizona, but I don't really slander Arizona. I do love the fact that Kylan Boswell came from Arizona, though. Thank you for your support, though, man. I appreciate it. He goes on to say, it's interesting with Kylan because he was here. I'm very familiar with him, and he'll have games like this where he goes off, but down the stretch for us, he just was a non-factor. I will be interested to see how he progresses at Illinois, and I'll be watching." Yeah. So Kylan, he is an interesting factor here. I think a lot of Illini fans feel like Caleb Love held him back. I'm not sure because I didn't watch a lot of Arizona games last season. And Arizona's kind of off to a slow start this year. So I don't know what's going on with Arizona. But Arizona's a good program. I got nothing really against Arizona. My friends over at PHNX obviously are big Arizona fans or Arizona State fans. And, I would say that they probably aren't too happy with where Arizona is at right now. But I think a lot of Illini fans feel like Kylan was kind of held back because of Caleb Love and the volume of shots that he got. But again, I didn't watch a lot of Arizona hoops last season consistent enough to really say if that's true or false. But I lean to believe that that might be the reason. So far, Kylan with Illinois, if you go back to after 3 games, I was sitting here and I was kind of saying, okay, it's only been 3 games, but Kylan's shooting below 30% from 3. He's not being aggressive on the offensive end. When is this guy going to get going? Because this team is going to only go as far as I hope they can go if he is A, more aggressive, B, is more productive or more efficient from the 3-point line and plays good on-ball defense. And he was only doing one of those 3 things the first couple games. I think since that second half against Alabama, Kylan has started to kind of come together with this Illinois team. Kylan had 18 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists against Arkansas. I do think there's a lot of pressure on him to perform. Kylan's from Champaign. It's his home. And so there's a big microscope under him or over him, I guess you could say, I think, from a lot of fans. Admittedly, after those first couple games this season, I was already questioning him. It was more about just like expecting more. He wasn't playing up to expectation. Do I think Kylan should lead Illinois in scoring every single game? No. But I'm expecting good defense. I'm expecting him to be a solid 3-point shooter, and I'm expecting him to be a leader on this team. He has more experience on this team than anyone else in terms of guys who play regular minutes. And so I think his experience is going to mean so much as we get into the Big Ten season, as we get into February and March. His experience is going to be so much. I can only hope and pray that guys like Tomislav and Kasparis and Will Riley continue to gain experience, take steps forward as players as the season goes along. You know how a lot of people say freshmen aren't freshmen come March. Some freshmen aren't freshmen come March on certain teams. That's what I'm hopeful for those guys. But Kylan is a guy who has played in March, who has been on good teams, who has high expectations. And so I'm hopeful that he continues his good play that he has had since the second half against Alabama. So I am excited to see how his season continues to go. when he wasn't doing much, they hadn't really played anyone. He has shown up against the big schools. He showed up against Alabama, and he showed up here against Arkansas. And he played pretty good games against the two mid-major schools before the Arkansas game too. So I think he's starting to get it going. Maybe, perhaps he needed a little time to kind of adjust and figure out his own role on this team. But I love what I'm seeing from him as a leader, as a guy who can attack the basket, shoot the three. He has this vibe about him, this aura about him that shows that he's not afraid of the moment as well. So interested on people's thoughts related to Kylan now after, kind of a slow start to the season. But Anthony, I appreciate you again. So we'll see how things go. What else? And he did go on to say, we're a trash team right now, though, so I don't even want to think about Arizona. Yeah, I mean, though they could possibly get it going. But yeah, it's not been great to start. I bet on West Virginia last week live, and that paid out. That was a tough game to watch if you're an Arizona fan. What else? He says, yeah, I want him to do well. We'll see with the pressure that's on him and big moments of conference games down the stretch, and he can impact game in many ways. Yeah. I'm someone who, I think it's interesting how a lot of fans, and this isn't just Illinois fans, I think this is college basketball fans. I find it interesting how a lot of fans will really, really turn on a player if they transfer out or, whatever the circumstance may be. A lot of fans will turn on a player usually after they transfer, and very few players where I've actually kind of changed my tone towards a guy. If there's one player that I've kind of changed my tone on after they left Illinois, it was Sky Clark and Adam Miller. Adam Miller was a guy that he was set up to be the number one option with Illinois the year after they were a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament with Ayo Dosunmu and Trent Frazier and Kofi Coburn. He was set up to perhaps be the guy. He could have created a real legacy at Illinois. He decides to transfer to LSU. He's now at Arizona State. Suffered an ACL injury his first year at LSU. Just, I don't know. I feel like his collegiate career hasn't panned out the way that I thought it could have years ago. Sky Clark, huge recruit, doesn't even make it the full first season. They shaped this whole thing about mental health when he leaves the team, this and that. And I don't read the message board, so I don't really know what all that was. Seems like when I look back at that team that particular season, just felt like the entire roster just wasn't crafted well by Brad Underwood. And in turn, the last year, they went to the Elite Eight, so he corrected a wrong. We'll see how this year's team pans out, right? But Sky Clark was a guy that had high expectations and then just ran from the team, essentially. And they framed it as this mental health thing at start. And then when Illinois got bounced by Arkansas in the NCAA tournament that year, literally the moment they lost, the moment that last second came off the clock, he posted on Instagram that he was transferring or that he had committed to Louisville or something. I don't even remember what it was, but it was just kind of one of those, that's just a bad look. But on the flip side, he has gone on social media and sent support for Illinois. Like he did that during the NCAA tournament last year. And I felt kind of weird because I kind of had this grudge against him because of how things were handled when he left and all of that. But I don't know. At the end of the day, they're all, especially guys like him, they're not even 21 years old, a lot of them. And they're just trying to make the right decision for their careers and stuff and I get it. But those are probably the only two guys where I've kind of felt like this weird feeling like that. I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of glad that you're gone type thing. And I don't know. It's a very interesting how a lot of fans will flip on certain guys though after they leave. And I'm curious how Arizona fans feel about Kylan Boswell in relation to all of this. I am curious about that, but maybe I can talk to one of the PHNX guys on here sometime about that. But anyway, again, I appreciate some of the comments we've gotten. I appreciate you, Antony. All right, so where were we? We've been talking a lot about Kylan Boswell. Talked about Kasparis. I loved Tomislav. First half, he set the tone immediately, especially against his brother. I love the storyline with his brother. They did a jersey swap after the game. His brother didn't have a bad game either. His brother, Zvonimir, 13.6 rebounds for Arkansas. He had a much better second half. I thought Tomislav had a better first half. Zvonimir had a much better second half. Those two guys are gonna. I mean, they're gonna be real good for a long time. I just continue to be incredibly impressed by Tomislav. He is, man. I threw the question out there maybe like 2 weeks ago. Like, if this keeps going, man, like he's gonna pass Kofi. Is that ridiculous of me to say? Kofi had such an impact at this program, man. Tomislav has played 7 games, but man, he is a double-double machine. He can shoot the three. He was 6 of 9 from 3 in this game. 6 of 9. On top of the fact he pulls down 10 boards. His footwork close to the basket continues to just be so smooth. Anytime he gets the ball down there, I don't have any concern. I feel like he's going to make the right play every single time. He's looking like a real special player in my opinion. Like, you look at Kasparis, you look at Tomislav, and again, Will Riley did not have the best game, and you still put up 90. It makes you dream just a little bit, man. Imagine if you get Tomislav, Kasparis, Will Riley, all 3 putting up double-digit point games. You get the normal production you've been getting from Kylan Boswell the last handful of games. Rickhouse has a solid anywhere from 5 to 12 point game, hits a couple threes like he's been doing, 3 or 4 from 3 in this game against Arkansas, 9 points, right? And you got Merez Johnson just being that defensive force down in the paint. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn being the lightning rod off the bench who can come in, hit a couple shots for you. I mean, again, if they get Trey White going, dude, once he figures it out, I can't look at any other team in the Big Ten right now and say that they have a higher ceiling than Illinois. Again, I'm getting real delusional on this show tonight, but I legitimately believe that no team in the Big Ten has a higher ceiling than Illinois, because Illinois hasn't played its best ball yet. They had a great game against Arkansas, and I still feel like they can be better than what they were in this game. I still think they can be better than what they were in this game, and they won by 13 points. The 3 keys to this game that I had: contain John L. Davis, because I thought that maybe this was the game that he was going to break out. He had 3 points. 3 points. One of the biggest transfers of last offseason in college hoops. 3 points. I said limit the turnovers, no more than 12. Illinois had 11. And I said make your free throws. They went 15 of 22. That's better than 13 of 24 or whatever it was against Alabama. Still not perfect. Still can be better. But it's still nearly 70%. I'll take it. I'll let it pass, especially when you win by 13. And when you miss that many free throws, but you shoot 15 for 31 from the 3-point line, brother, you're just going to roll. Oh, they are a very fun team to watch play offense. They're a very fun team to watch play offense. So, again, I know this team isn't going to shoot nearly 50% from the three-point line every night. But when if this team can consistently find themselves shooting anywhere from 37 to 42% from the three-point line on a consistent basis, they're going to be a tough team to beat, man. They're going to be a tough team to beat. Now, Thiero for Arkansas, he had 26 points, and he was the one guy for Arkansas that gave me some concern. Just an athletic freak. And I feel like moving forward, when we look at matchups for other teams that Illinois is going to play, we have to look at that position. He's 6'8", 220, right? That's a guy that obviously is a versatile basketball player. So I think when you look at teams moving forward, guys of that size, the ability, the athlete that he is, and showed in that game. Again, 26 points. He was 12. He would have had well over 30 points if he just would have made his free throws. 12 of 21 from the free throw line. Yikes. Didn't make any threes, but 7 of 13 from the field. I just think that guy, he's a matchup nightmare. So he had 26. Zavonimir had 13. Billy Richmond had 12 off the bench for them, but their guard play did not show up in this game, and that is why Illinois won the game. Their guards, again, Flan went 2 of 12. John L. Davis only shot the ball 3 times. DJ Wagner, 4 of 9. He had 8 points. So Terry in the chat, he says KJ is such a weapon. He and Will Riley will decimate the Big Ten if they just run, as Brad has put it. Yeah. Again, Will Riley didn't have that great of a game, and they still put up 90. KJ though, dude, KJ showed why he is a top 20 prospect in the NBA draft for next year, man. Now, KJ's turnovers are still something that concern me. He had 5 turnovers in this game. But, again, as a team, they only had 11. So if only one guy has turned the ball over more than 3 times, you're limiting turnovers in a way. But I would like to see him bring those turnovers down. I still think he's far away from a finished product with this team. I still think he can be better than what we even saw in this game. That doesn't mean I think he's going to go average 30 points a game, but man, this is a guy I feel like before the end of the season, we're going to be talking about many, many double-doubles with points and assists. I do feel like that. Or even rebounds. He's just all over the place. And I love it. I love his hustle. He's getting after loose balls. He is doing the little things that you don't see in the stat sheet sometimes too. And at the same time, he's still stuffing the stat sheet. So he's just a very, very, very productive player. Again, makes you dream. And I think I said this in the last show about Will Riley. Right now, he should be a high school senior. Kasparis, after I said that about Will Riley, I said, enjoy the 1 year you're going to get of him because it's going to be special to watch. You certainly said that about Kasparis too. So, all right. I did about 35 minutes of just pure delusion and optimism, and we have to bring it down a little bit here. And I just want to say that this game at Northwestern on Friday, I have to find a reason to go. Oh, I have plenty of reason to go, but I have to find a way to get there because I still have not forgot about what happened back in January. Now, if you remember the last time Illinois went to Northwestern, it was Terrence Shannon Jr.'s first game back from the suspension. for all those false accusations against him in that rape case. At the time, we didn't know all the information yet. So I won't put down the entire university, or I won't put down the entire student section at Northwestern too much. But man, does every single one of those kids owe every Illinois fan who went to that game that night an apology for having to sit through that. But also Darren Shannon Jr., who, by the way, I saw a highlight of him with a ferocious dunk tonight for the Timberwolves. Still, I miss that guy. I love that guy in Illinois. Anyway, the point is it's a rivalry game for sure. Illinois and Northwestern basketball is definitely becoming more of a rivalry these last handful of years. And it was largely because of Boo Buie being what he was at Northwestern, quite literally being the best player to ever come out of Northwestern's basketball program. He is not there anymore. And I do think Illinois should win this game on Friday, but it will be a tough environment. And Northwestern already sold out. And I know the reason they sold out is because Illinois fans travel, and Champaign is not far from Evanston. And it's a small arena. I have to find a way to get there, to get into this game. I will go on whatever. I have to go on Game Time and get a last minute ticket. I will. Because I can't. I love that experience, the atmosphere in last year's game. And I feel like because Northwestern's basketball program is starting to grow a little bit, Chris Collins got some things going there. He's making the program, honestly, at least respectable. Consecutive NCAA tournament appearances. This game, it's kind of a trap game with Wisconsin on deck next week. So I'm intrigued to see how Illinois plays. I think they'll show up. It's a rivalry, in-state rivalry game. I think they will show up for this game. But it is technically a trap game, in my opinion, because Wisconsin is better than them. And Wisconsin has been better. They have been better than what I expected for sure coming into this season. We'll see if it continues. But the thing about Wisconsin that is intriguing to me is they are scoring a lot of points early on here. And Wisconsin has been dominated by Illinois these last handful of years. Illinois has beat them 8-9 times in a row, largely because they just don't match up well with Illinois at all, because they just don't have enough offensive firepower. This year, they've been scoring a lot of points. So I'm intrigued to see this game in Champaign next week, which, by the way, I bought tickets to that game against Wisconsin next week. It was part of Illinois' Cyber Monday deal. 2 tickets in the 200 level for like $30 against a really good Wisconsin team. Sign me up. I'll get in my car and I'll drive to Champaign. Can't wait. Haven't been to the State Farm Center in 2 years. Can't wait, man. So I'm hoping to go to the next 2 games. I'm hoping to go to Northwestern this Friday, 6.5 miles away from Evanston. And I'm definitely going to be at Wisconsin or at State Farm for when Wisconsin comes to Champaign next week. So 2 huge games coming up, Big Ten games. You need to start the Big Ten season off on a good note on Friday against a team that you should beat, a team you absolutely should beat. And honestly, for my own freaking mentality with how I have grudges, I hope Illinois wins by 50 on Friday. I mean, let's just put up 100+ on this Northwestern team. That's what I hope happens. I think it will be close, and I think that it will be a hard-fought game, and it will be, honestly, I mean, it's a true road game. The second true road game for Illinois is technically a neutral site against Alabama, but it was in Birmingham, so a home game for Alabama. You go to Evanston, it should feel not so much as a road game, but like It will be a it could be a hostile environment, but also an environment that you're not going to feel as if when you go to Purdue, right? Purdue is one of the tougher environments to play in. There should be a lot of Illini fans at this game, but if you let Northwestern hang around, it can get a little iffy. They went to overtime back in January when they played last season. So I'm looking forward to that game and seeing this team continue to grow. Absolutely feel like it's a must win on Friday because I don't know how to feel about the game against Wisconsin based on how Wisconsin has played to start this year. It's not going to be an easy game, in my opinion, at this point. And then you got Tennessee. So this month of December is tough, man. Northwestern, Wisconsin, Tennessee, Mizzou, and then Chicago State. You have 5 games in the month of December. 5 games in the month of December. What's a realistic ask for Illinois in the month of December? You have Northwestern, Wisconsin, Tennessee, Mizzou, and Chicago State. So let's just put out there, they'll beat Chicago State. They should beat Missouri. They should. But it's a rivalry game too, and at a neutral site in St. Louis in the bragging rights game. You should beat them though. So I'll put 2 wins there. Then you look at Northwestern, Wisconsin, Tennessee. Again, they should beat Northwestern. And then Wisconsin and Tennessee, I think, are the toss-ups here. Best case scenario to me, they go 4-1. Well, obvious best case scenario, they win all 5. I don't think they're going to win all 5, though. Worst case scenario, they lose to Wisconsin and Tennessee, in my opinion, and they go 3-2 in December. That's worst case scenario. I think we can realistically believe that they can go 4-1 in December here. But who knows? At the same time, this team is young, and they could certainly take a big step back this Friday against Northwestern. Again, I know that I've been very optimistic in sharing my excitement about how much the game over Arkansas made me, right? But I have to take a step back and remember that this team is young, and there's going to be some inconsistency. Some of these guys are going to hit a wall, that freshman wall, right? Teams are going to adjust, right? So, maybe I'm setting the bar a little too high too early, right? Maybe I am. I probably am, because I said the game against Alabama was just going to be one that we'll look back in February and be like, that game helped us get to this point. Illinois played the absolute perfect game that they could have played with how much experience they have and the lack of continuity that they have at this point. They played 7 games, but they played the most perfect game they could have with the group of guys that they have 7 games in. Where will this group be in 2 months when you're, 20 plus games in? That's when it really matters, right? But I think as they're going through this process of growing together, to win that game against Arkansas speaks volumes of how this team can grow together while they continue to win games moving forward too. So maybe reality is more of a 3-2 month of December, and worst case scenario, you only beat Mizzou and Chicago State. Maybe that's worst case scenario. So, remember this when we're sitting here and the week of Christmas and Illinois has lost 3 in a row, and you're now in must-win territory against Mizzou, and then you should beat Chicago State, right? I think that they will win at least one of these 3 games. They will win at least one of these 3 games. But if you beat Wisconsin next Tuesday, ranked number 11 Wisconsin, it's huge resume builder for sure. And who knows what they do against Tennessee. It's going to be a tough one, but it'll be at your house. It'll be at your house. I don't know, man. I don't know. It could go either way. They could go 4-1 in December. They could go 2-3 in December. Maybe 3-2 is reality. 3-2 is reality. I think that is more of the reality. We'll see. All right, let's go. We've been talking about Illinois' schedule in December. Let's talk about the Big Ten during Feast Week, which I wrote some things down. All right. The Big Ten in December or the Big Ten during Feast Week. My takeaways from an absolute electric Feast Week, by the way. I spent so much time watching college hoops last week. It's just a beautiful time to be alive, man. My biggest takeaway, and I kind of already went on this little tangent on the last show, but now because they lost again, it's allowing me to do it again because it's just chef's kiss. Indiana, in their soft-ass non-conference schedule, they lost to Louisville and Gonzaga. Now, I knew they were going to lose to Gonzaga, especially after they lost to Louisville, and it was they got absolutely boat raced. But the fact that they were ranked in the AP poll in like the top 15 with their soft-ass non-conference schedule, and they actually lost to Louisville, I just think it speaks volumes of that team. And now they don't really play anyone this month. I can go and look this up to make sure. I mean, I remember looking at it. Indiana. They play Sam Houston tomorrow, man. Sam Houston. In the month of December, Indiana plays 6 games. They play Sam Houston. They play Miami, Ohio. Play Minnesota. Probably a mid Big Ten team this year. Great defensive team. You want to bet unders? Bet unders in Minnesota games. Nebraska. Okay. They beat Creighton during Feast Week. Or maybe it was the week before. I can't remember. Nebraska might be the toughest game on their schedule in December. They play Chattanooga, and then they play Winthrop. Winthrop is a solid mid-major program. But, like, there's no marquee schools here. No marquee schools here. And then they start they get into the heart or the beginning of the real Big Ten schedule. The point is that Indiana, we're going to go into the Big Ten season, and there's just not going to be anything to judge them on. To me, they haven't proven to be a top 25 team, and that's why they're not in it as we enter this week. So, I already thought they were a bunch of frauds, and now I get to believe they're a bunch of frauds probably until they probably win a game I don't expect them to win in January. That's where I'm at with Indiana. Now, as down as I am on Indiana, Oregon is a team that really impressed me this past week. They beat Alabama, they beat San Diego State, and they beat Texas A&M. The game against Alabama especially is impressive. You know, we watched Illinois and Alabama, and Illinois was never really in that game. And Oregon, they gave them a great fight and won, right? San Diego State is a really good program as well. And Texas A&M inside the top 25. Oregon is a team that I should probably start talking about more in terms of a team that could potentially finish the top 5 in this conference, maybe even win the conference. Ohio State, they lost to Pitt, but Pitt is top 20 in KenPom. They only lost 91-90. I still think Ohio State is a team to watch out for. A team to not watch out for. USC, 36 points against St. Mary's last week. Yikes. Yikes, man. Okay. And unfortunately, Michigan might be on its way back. Not only did they have the biggest upset in college football of the season probably this past week, but or on Saturday, but they did beat Xavier last week. I haven't watched a lot of them. I've just been more of a scoreboard watching for Michigan so far this year. But it's amazing what happens when you get Juwan Howard out of the building, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate for us Illini fans, right? So a team to watch out for. Michigan State, I watched a handful of their games. They did beat UNC. They lost in Memphis. Michigan State just looks like every Michigan State team that I've ever watched. They struggle shooting the three, but they will defend you to no end. A normal Tom Izzo team. And then to round it out, Purdue, they beat NC State and they beat Ole Miss. To me, Purdue is still number one in this conference and until proven otherwise. But I think this conference is going to be really fun to watch in January because it could change so much so fast in terms of who's at the top. But Purdue's at the top until further notice, unfortunately. It pains me to say that. But they continue to find ways to win games even when they don't play their best game. And that's what good programs do, and that's what good teams do. But I remain to believe that Illinois still has the highest ceiling in this conference. We'll see if I'm right about that in 3 months. All right. We're about 51 minutes in. I did not expect to talk for as long as I did, but I was just so excited about the win over Arkansas and still am. And just to close out the show, guys, I say this a lot, man, but just enjoy this ride that we are riding with this team. Will there be painful losses down the road? Most likely. Will there be games where we all want to pull our hair out and we question Brad Underwood? Absolutely. But that game against Arkansas was the Brad Underwood special. It was an absolute Brad Underwood special. And I'm telling you, and I say this with so much confidence, that we are so blessed to have Brad Underwood. We're just so blessed, man. He just continues to put this program in the right direction. So I say all that, and I end it with the fact that you now have to continue this role. You have to continue this momentum on Friday at Northwestern. Huge game against a Big Ten team, in-state rival, a team that you went to and played in their place last year, and you had every reason to win that game. The only one player from that team it returns for the game this year, so I guess none of that really matters. But for fans who are thinking about this game on Friday against Northwestern, they have not forgot about the events that happened at Welsh Ryan Arena at Welsh Ryan Arena. All right, so big game on Friday, guys. First Big Ten game of the season, and I'm telling you, you just beat Northwestern in football at Wrigley Field this past week. Go to this mid-tier program in the Big Ten and take care of business. You have no reason to not win this game. Start December off right. And just, again, keys are always turnovers and free throws with these teams, these Brad Underwood teams. Turnovers and free throws. Make more than 50% of your free throws and turn it over no less than 12 times. And you will probably win this game. So, anyway, that's all I got, guys. I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Hit that like button here on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast. Link is in the description. If you're listening on the podcast platform, thank you for subscribing and listening, and I appreciate your support. And thank you for listening to me talking to my microphone in front of my MacBook Air for the last 54 minutes. It means a lot. If you are new on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Putting Illinois content up all the time, Illinois basketball content all the time. If you don't know who I am, my full-time job is covering the Chicago Cubs for CHGO Sports. This is just something I do for fun because we don't have an Illinois podcast. However, I will say this, and I should start promoting it on here. we did just drop an Illinois t-shirt, and we have coffee mugs with the same logo on it, an Illinois coffee mug and t-shirt at CHGO Sports. And it's on sale right now for our Cyber Monday sale. If you go to it sometime within the next probably 12 hours, I don't know how much longer the sale goes. If you go and if you're interested in checking that out, maybe buying it, highly encourage. I'll start putting the link in the description for our Illinois stuff at CHGO if you guys want to consider purchasing. So yeah, that's all I got. I appreciate y'all's support. I'll see you all Friday night for post game. Most likely, put a little asterisk next to that, but most likely post game right here after the game or shortly after the game, Friday, Illinois Northwestern. Again, appreciate y'all's support. And as always, ILL.